Hey everybody, welcome back to ChallengeYourself.blog. I got a couple updates, so let's get started. So I'm going to try to keep this video short. I know it's been quite a while since I've done a video, but I have quite a few things going on simultaneously. So first, notably, I started a new job at a leading manufacturer of pharmaceuticals. So go to my LinkedIn page, you can see where I'm working at. It's pretty exciting. Really like what I'm doing there. Second of all, I wanted to go through some of the robot stuff that I've been working on. It's been a little while since I've posted a video on that. I haven't worked on it specifically for a little while, and part of that is I've been kind of thinking of redesigning a few things, so let's kind of walk through that. At the moment I only have one finger attached to this, but what you may notice that's a little bit different is I have some servos that are actually hooked up in the wrist to forearm area. Now, one of the design changes that I made since last video is this plate. There's actually two different plates here. These little cross member beams and additional plates. What I want to do differently, and I'm kind of working through the design changes, I want to try to put a gap in between here. So it's going to mean more pieces, but at the same time it'll allow me to run the fishing line tendons through the center of this. So on one hand I have more parts that I have to manufacture, but at the same time, anytime I need to do a repair or make a modification, I don't have to try to thread all of the tendon lines down through everything, because that's been one of my frustrations as I've been working on this. Is I'll get, like, I made these little gaps to try to run the lines through, and it works okay, but it's also very clumsy, so I want to try to simplify that. Another thing I want to do is I want to try to make the fused carpal section a little larger, but one of the design issues that I run into is when I do that, then I have all these little add-on pieces that at the moment are a giant piece, and what I need to do is make this so that I want to make it into an assembly instead of having it one giant piece. One, it'll cut down the printing time. Two, it'll make it so if I need to make a modification, I don't have to reprint the whole thing. So there are a lot of design changes that are kind of underway. The rubber bands that I'm using for the ligaments seem to be working really well. I do need to change the way that the carpals are designed a little bit, just to make it a little easier, and I have a few things in mind for that. One of the other side projects that I was talking about in my post earlier in the week, just on the community board, I've been working on a sensor project, and it may seem kind of unrelated at the moment, but hear me out on this. The temperature and humidity sensor, I've wanted to kind of build a network in-house, of my own making. I wanted to make like a sensor array within the house. With all the craziness that's been going on in the world, home security is something that you probably can't have enough of, and at the same time, I know I can go out and buy like an ADT system and do all that stuff. I thought if I kind of got into it, I know my system probably wouldn't be as robust as theirs because they've been doing it forever, but I wanted to start small with just a simple wireless temperature and humidity sensor array where I'm sending signals to and from a couple places within the house. Building off of that, I think it's probably been close to 6 months now. I have a sensor kit that has all kinds of stuff in there. There's, accelerometer, there's, moisture sensor, and all kinds of things. Wanted to kind of go through that, and like if there was a broken window, could I put an accelerometer on the window or the wall to detect vibration? Temperature and humidity sensor, did a window open up, suddenly in one room, is 20% more humid than the rest, or something like that. I think that there's a way that, you can kind of make all these things communicate. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off track, but just kind of my general thinking on stuff like that. So I went online, I found a tutorial on how to build a single sensor that the sensor is controlled by an Arduino board, and then the Arduino board has a hookup to a transmitter. Then there's a second Arduino board that's hooked up to a receiver, and then the receiver is hooked up to a Raspberry Pi. So it gets a little complex, and then it sends the data off to ThingSpeak. And I'm right at the point where the tutorial went to a website called Xively. I think that's how you pronounce it. Xively isn't around anymore. It got bought up by Google, I think, and now it's a paid service. Now I have to kind of modify the code, and I've never done this before, so that's where I'm trying to figure out what do I need to do differently that the Xively code, what's different between Xively and ThingSpeak. So I have to kind of work through that, and that's where I'm stuck. I actually have all the stuff soldered up, and I know that the Arduino code is all loaded, or all the code is loaded onto the Arduino boards, and it was successful. So I know that works. In fact, the sensor and transmitter is behind me. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera back there. I know that it works because I was able to get it to scroll the temperature and humidity readings on the computer screen, so that works. So expanding off of that, how does that tie into the robot project? Well, in the robot project, I did a lot of the previous robot over here directly off of my Raspberry Pi, and it was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. I had a little bit of trouble in the beginning because I was learning Python, but if I want to start taking actual sensor data from the robot arm, so that I need to understand how the input-output gets communicated. Basically, I want to be able to take input-output from the robot, and I also want to understand how these little Arduino boards can be utilized to basically work together, using the sensor project to help me down the road. I want to be able to do this, and then I have another sensor thing that I want to work with, and I want to be able to send data to a database, basically, and have it's kind of cycle back and forth. I have the idea in my mind, but I don't know how to articulate it because this isn't my life's work, my career. My career has not had me delve into this kind of stuff before. So my education and background and stuff isn't in this stuff, and I'm kind of learning as I go. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about, and I recorded a lot of stuff. I've been recording a lot of video over the last weeks, but I haven't had time to do any editing to it. So one of the videos that I want to do, I want to re-record it is a simple advice for new engineers. And so what does that mean? I remember about 10 years ago, I started going down the aerospace path to get me where I'm at today. And I had several mentors when I was at Lord Corporation. I learned a lot of stuff when I was at Safran Aerospace, and I wanted to kind of look at my 20-some years of experience. Again, go back and look at my LinkedIn profile. I've had a very windy career path compared to a lot of people. So I've seen a lot of stuff. I've talked to a lot of very, very smart people. And I wanted to put together basically so if I was to go back 25 years, what kind of advice would I give myself to kind of set myself apart from the pack? What kind of pitfalls would I try to avoid? Things that maybe I had experienced myself, other things that maybe I had observed someone else doing that, you stand back and go, I wouldn't have done that. Things like that, one, it would kind of help ease going through certain pains. There's always growing pains. There's always an uncomfortableness that you go through periodically in any job. But there are some things that you kind of walk in blindly, you get hit from the side, and you're like, whoa, what just happened? So those are kind of things that, in generalizations that I, wanted to put out there. And another thing, 25, 30 years ago, the cost of education and the reward of, whatever career you ended up picking, was a different ratio than it is today. Like I hear horror stories where people have gone to college and they've got $100-some thousand in debt, and they've got a job that pays $28,000 a year. They're never going to climb out of that. What would I say to someone going into the college world? Would I even advise going to college? I would probably say it depends. A couple of people that I used to work with had a very good, they had a really good path picked out for themselves. They were working a full-time job, and they were doing the tuition reimbursement through their employer. If you can find a job that will do that, that is amazing. That'll be a separate video. I need to sit down and re-record that, because I probably have like an hour's worth of me literally talking straight through the whole thing, but it was more me kind of dumping all of my thoughts and stuff. There was no script. It was just me basically doing verbal notes. And the last thing I want to talk about quickly was Elite Dangerous. I've been recording a ton of video for the last several weeks. There's a lot of stuff in Elite Dangerous that isn't really well explained in game. It's kind of like you stumble into it, or you want to, like for the engineering stuff, engineering basically is upgrading all of your components, your core internals, your optional internals, and your weapons and all that stuff. The materials are sometimes, if you don't have a game plan, it can be very frustrating and time consuming, which the game's kind of sandboxy, so it doesn't really matter if you're into just roaming around and collecting things. But when you determine, hey, I want to go down this certain path, there are a lot of things that you probably want to map out, or at least scribble a couple of notes down, so you can turn 16 hours of gameplay into maybe 2. That might be overstating it a little bit, but so there's a lot of video. All of it I've already transferred from my PlayStation to my computer. I just have to go through and edit a lot of stuff and then add some narration to it. But there's a lot of video coming up. I go over like Dav's Hope. There's a nice little area that you can go and basically make several loops to pick up stuff. You don't get attacked. It's a nice location. I ran into some Thargoids. I recorded that video. There's several things that I'll be covering soon, so stay tuned. I'll be releasing those probably over the next week. I just my travel to and from work is about an hour, so when I get home at night, sometimes I'll record video, but I won't be doing any editing because you know, I'm kind of shot by the time I get downstairs. So anyway, you know, thanks for you know, all the support. Really appreciate it. If you like what you see, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell too, and you know, I'll talk to you soon.